Welcome back to Oneself. My name is Stephen Maher. With me today, with me always, is Adam Bartleman. Adam, thank you so much for joining me today, my friend. I
Yeah,
appreciate your
man.
presence and your time as always. And yeah, a lot of love coming from this side of the screen, sending it to you, man.
Yeah, man. Right back at you. Good to see you.
Good to see you, brother. Um, Today we're talking about perspectives in a lot of ways, right? And before we hopped on, what I was talking about with Adam was that I am currently in a new location, a different part of the world, um, and what I've noticed in my life and in the past is that just because you change a location, that doesn't fix the internal stuff that you're dealing with, whatever that is. If it's the traumas, calming your nervous system, the self love, any of that stuff. Just because you make a big move, it doesn't mean that's gonna go away, right? So I acknowledge that on one hand, and so like all the internal work that I have to do, I still have to do, right? On the other hand, where I was previously, I was not inspired, by my environment. And I think what is super important for me as an individual is that like for me to feel inspired by life, I need to, my environment is huge, right? And like where I am is huge and who I'm surrounding myself with is really important for me to just sink my teeth into life, right? And so on I recognize both of those things, right? Like the duality of the internal and the external, and like trying to form a marriage between both in order to be the best version of myself. Um, at the same time, though, as well, you know, Adam and I were talking about this. I'm in a place where I had visited previously, and when I was there before 2 years ago, I felt all those things. Like I felt inspired. I felt surrounded by people that like I could collaborate with and like, like other creatives. And like I was telling Adam, I'm here now. And it's just like I'm just getting none of that, right? Like I'm getting like, none of those feelings. And so it's like, okay, like I gotta switch it up again, I think. To like again, knowing that I have a ton of stuff that I need to work on as an individual, but it's like I need to honor that that time and place in the past was special and served its purpose. But in order for me to like feel that again, it's like I need to go find that somewhere else. And I was telling Adam, it's like, I've got some ideas and, some feelers out in the world and, you know, hopefully I can make that happen, sooner rather than later. But it's okay in the meantime, and yeah, just that perspective shift, how time shifts things. 2 years ago I was in a location and I felt all those things, right? Like that inspiration and felt challenged and was learning a lot about myself and just knowledge in general. And then just fast forward 2 years and everything kind of changed. Like the world moves, people change. Like people move on, all that sort of stuff. So it's like yeah, I just all that to say I got a good lesson in perspective this past week. And yeah, man, Adam, I just I'm gonna flip it over to you, brother, and just any comments on perspective and lessons learned in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced similar things, and I think it comes down with regard to that type of example. We can just look at attachment, right? Because we focus a lot on releasing attachments to negative things, like trauma patterns in our lives, but we also form these attachments to positive things, which create just as much suffering as the attachment to what we consider negative things. And we're also talking about how good and bad, positive and negative, that's all relative. But in this case, focusing on the positive, just, through our experience, what we have considered positive and to be positive in the past. When we create an attachment to that, it creates suffering. You go chasing that exact feeling again, and it's like it doesn't hit quite the same. the second time around, it's like any other addiction. Um,
Yeah, yeah, man. There's definitely like a sadness right now in me, which is okay,
yeah.
right? It's like it gives you perspective on like the goodness, but it's just like I told you before we hopped on, it's like definitely just like I'm off my path, and I thought coming here would like realign me a little bit, and it didn't.
Mm,
Which is
yeah.
okay. It's okay. Like again, it serves a lesson and a purpose, but it's like now, and in a way, guess what? It inspired me even more to be like, I need to go fucking find it. Like I need to go
Yeah.
find it. Like in a way, it's inspiring and motivating. So for that, I am grateful.
Yeah, and there's a few different things we could talk about there, but ultimately, even that, we have to consider perspective in all ways. So, from your personal perspective of your ego, because you're not getting the exact experience or the similar experience you were hoping for, you're considering yourself to be off your path there. But from a broader perspective, maybe from your higher self, you've never been off your path. It's impossible to be off your path. You just
Yeah,
have the opinion that you're off your path because it's like things aren't lining up. I'm not recognizing those synchronicities. I'm not experiencing that feeling of magic like I was last time. So it's like it's not, again, the attachment. Um
yeah,
Build a model in the mind of how things are supposed to be based on past experience, which is ego, which is, a narrow aperture that we're looking through, and recognizing that we just got to widen that angle, that lens, and have another look, because ultimately we are never really off our path. Um and trying to compare it to the past is kind of like the same thing as comparing it to the paths of other people. And we have to understand that one of the buzz phrases in new age spirituality is like, the pathless path. And a lot of this stuff I don't really adhere to too much, but that's one that I like, the pathless path. It's um because it's unique for every person. There's not like this one way that works for each person. And while we've been raised in this world that offers certain things, like say a traditional Buddhist practice, or everyone was seeking for their personal guru after reading Ram Dass' story in the whenever his book was produced in the early 70s, Be Here Now, and everyone's like, I don't know, I want to go to India and I want to do that. I want to have my magical encounter with my guru. And it's like, eh, that those paths work for some, and not for others. It doesn't have to be that, but when we're so convinced, when we're so attached to the idea of doing, if I just do these right things to get the conditions that I want, it'll create the life and the experience that I want. That can lead to suffering, the feeling of being lost, in order to come back to the place of finding out that it is going to be a unique path, and that we do have to allow it to come to us without expectation, without attachment to any thought of how it's supposed to be, because um ultimately it is unique. And especially now, I think as we shift ages, we've passed 2012. We're in a deeper expression of feminine energy. um as far as it seems on this planet, it's less rigid, it's less though those older systems maybe don't apply so much anymore. Maybe like, going into a monastery and following a set procedure for awakening. Maybe that still works for some, but for most, I believe it's a unique and individual journey, as we're coming back to this understanding that every individual is empowered. This hierarchy of going to someone, again, outside of us for direction, doesn't always offer everything that we hope it might. And that's, again, this conversation on being versus doing. There's not to say that there's anything wrong with, reading some books, going to some special places, seeking some advice from someone who feels aligned with you. But ultimately, those things, so here's my piece of advice, I guess ironically is is looking to any of that advice that comes to you to see if it's supporting you in your own personal journey, not giving you a direction of what you're supposed to do. Like, again, you have to go to this place again. You have to follow the directions of a guru or a master or whatever, or you have to do everything that this book highlights to the T, So um really, yeah, understanding that whatever it is we're seeking externally is pointing us back to the internal, and ultimately whatever it is we're seeking in the external is showing us um that we don't need it ultimately. Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, you spoke of synchronicities. It's like I'm more just like trying to read the universe. You know what I mean? And it's like, and like I'm open to things coming my way and opportunities coming my way. And it's like I don't, and maybe that'll change, like, right? Like maybe I'll get hit with a brick wall of or a beautiful brick wall like next week or something. It's like who knows? I'm open.
Yeah.
But it seems like I'm really fluid um for things to come my way, and they just have it. So it's like, okay, like maybe I need to go get that, right? So it's like or I need to go create those conditions, or it's like I need to go find
Mhm.
that environment where I feel like um c- I'm living the or building the life that I want to build, right? And
Yeah.
again, like where I say like like I've been doing music out of community for like a year now, and I really realized that like for my soul to feel alive, for me to really get like just like the highest experience of life for me, it's like it's when I'm doing music in community,
Yeah.
and so it's just like it's just to know things about myself, right? It's like I honor the year that I had, right? Like like the pathless path, like I think I learned a lot, and like I went from like 28 to like this hell of a year in 28. Like I was doing music in community the whole year to like the complete opposite of that from 29 to like early, this is the beginning of my 30, of the year 30. And so like it was like I got both sides of the pendulum. Like I got this
Mm.
hell of a year to like 28 was probably like the again, this is subjective and in my opinion, but like one of the better years of my life in terms of the music, right? In terms of like the thing that I feel most fulfilled doing. And then I played like one show when I was like in my year of like 29. Um and that hurt, and then I was about to play a show before I like left and came here, and like it got canceled, and like
Mm.
like I was just like, oh, like what is this, like like why is this, what is this, like what is this lesson, you know what I mean, just because
Yeah.
of just like this lesson of like I almost had like the thing that I wanted so much, which was like music and community, like a taste of it before I tried to go and find more of it, and that was taken away. And so yeah, man, yeah, it's like just been an interesting and like you said, like ego, and like it's just like this is just like something I want, right? Like, but
Yeah.
it's like, or like need too in a lot of ways. Like it's like I know for that that unbridled joy to just burst forth from me. It's like that's what I want and that's what I need. Um so yeah, man, yeah. That's why it's like, when this current environment isn't serving any of those goals, it's like, all right, like, like I'm open to something changing, if something comes my way, but otherwise, if it's not, I'm going to go find it.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a fun stage of the journey, man. Gets a little more nuanced because there's both surrender and like guided action or taking
Yeah.
action.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah. It's both. It's
so
both.
recognizing that
And
we're always sorry, go ahead.
s- well, and it's like, and it's also like, I work so hard to like set the conditions of myself to allow me to go do that. Right.
Hmm.
For like 29, like that's what I think 29 was for, where it's like, where it's like, like creating the circumstances where like I can do that, you know,
Nice.
whether it
Yeah.
was, like just like, busting my butt in the year of 29, where it's like I wasn't doing music, but I was like, I think what I was doing was like I was setting up the foundation for which to like burst forth and to like go find it, go create
Yeah.
it, or
Yep.
have it come to me, like whatever that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of there's good stuff, man. It's good stuff because recognizing that we're always receiving guidance, it's like always. It's
Yeah,
just a matter of surrendering. So there's again this like dichotomy of surrender and also taking action, but surrendering to the point of uh or surrendering, and what I mean by that is like giving away the like releasing the expectation, um acting without an attachment to the like the fruits of your labors. So doing so like do if in your example, like creating music, which I know you do from a whole and centered place because it's like your artistic, your authentic artistic expression and your gift to the world, one of them. But then also just checking that ego part that is like uh having expectations on how it's supposed to look. Because when we're surrendered in the moment, we can hear that guidance that's always there. And this is where something like meditation comes in, and and the conversation around like, well, it's not about what you do, because then the mind can attach to these things. I'm like, okay, well, I got to wake up at this time, and I got to meditate this long, and I got to do this, and this, and then like then attachment forms there, where then we're judging ourselves if we're not doing that. There's an expectation on, okay, I'm meditating because I'm looking for guidance, and that is all creating a block.
pressure.
It's like
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. So it's interesting. Again, it's just, it continues. It's always perspective, and it continues to get more and more nuanced the further we go, and the more subtle. The further we go, the more subtle it gets. So it's kind of like it's about being. It's not about doing. It's about being in the state of receiving, not doing something to get there. But then, like, the paradox is there are things that we can do to help us be. And some of these structured practices, and these more rigid practices, like say, yeah, like try waking up earlier and meditate. And it's like, but don't become attached to it. Um, so it's kind of
yeah, it's
funny.
fucking hard.
Yeah, but
you
also
know,
the and then we have this attachment because we've been conditioned our whole lives, which I think is sort of on purpose, whatever the outgrowth of our twisted up society is here. It has created this belief that the more we do, the more we get, right? Like um, wage labor, for example, like and these are things that are so deeply embedded in our consciousness and our cellular memory that it's really hard to break out of those, and that why following some practices or uh practices, experiences like maybe plant medicine in certain people's paths, it's like we practice these things until we get to the point where we realize that we don't need them. So
yeah,
it's like, say you meditate every day for like a couple hours for years until you get to the place that you realize that you don't need meditation to be here, to be where you are, where you were the whole time. But it's just in a deeper awareness of that. But then again, the paradox is you needed to do that thing, the meditation, in order to get to that realization. And that was your experience, regardless of any judgment about it. That was your experience. So that that paradox exists. Um, so it's in a case like yours, it's like having no attachment to the outcome, but and well, sitting in trying to sit in a space of surrender to hear the guidance, because that's the thing, we're always getting that guidance, and then also releasing the attachment to what it's supposed to look like, because it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna get some guidance to go to this city and like stay in this area, and then I'm gonna like, get some gigs and play some music. It's like, well, it might not happen that way. But at the same time, recognizing that we are not separate from the creative process, and I'm talking about like the grand creative process of which like creating art like you do is exactly aligned, is very much part of that. Um, we're not separate from it, which is another part of the programming that we've received, especially through uh, Western thought, which has been greatly affected. Obviously, whether you're religious or not, Western thought has been, influenced by Christianity, like distorted Christianity, and this idea of separation and hierarchy, and thinking that God is something outside of ourselves, that the creator is something outside of ourselves. We're these like separate lower beings that are living in original sin, born bad, and have to come back to have to work, have to do things to get back to being holy. And like that's all a distortion. That's not true. It's impossible to be separate from God. So on the other hand, like being surrendered, but then also recognizing that we are the creative process. So taking action in order to create that momentum, which then results in that state of being. So it's like you want to be creative, and you want to be meeting people to gig with, then start, creating that music, and being out, be that guy who is going to be attracting that. Like maybe go search your own thing out, and play a keyboard set at a little restaurant if you can, like by yourself. And you're like, that's not what I wanted. I wanted to do it with a band,
Yeah.
but like just
Yeah.
putting it out there, because there's this way I've heard it explained a few times, which resonated really, really, really well with me. It's like when we are looking to the outside world to wait for the cues to act, then it's kind of like, um you're actually, this was a Bashar quote. I like this, Daryl Anka. It's like looking in a mirror, and you're wanting to see a smile in the mirror, but you're looking in the mirror and waiting for the reflection to smile first before you're going to smile. And it's like, well, if you want to create the conditions in your life, then you like that you want to see, then you got to smile first before it reflects back to you. So, um, but then, doing whatever is most aligned with our path, our highest path, I should say, because obviously there's infinite timelines and opportunities to do different things. But choosing what is most aligned is going to come through that stillness. Is going to come through not being attached to an outcome, because something that we have to be able to wrap our minds around is the fact that whatever is coming down the pipe for us, like consider the possibility that it's going to be way better, way greater than anything that our minds can dream up. Because
Yeah.
if we're attached to how it's supposed to look and the steps that it's supposed to take in order to get there, we might miss we might miss the actual signs that are pulling us in the right direction if we're sitting there again judging it. And again, perspective. If we're applying value judgments to something, and it's like, well, that doesn't fit the model of how I thought it was supposed to look, so I'm not gonna follow that sign. And then meanwhile, that was like the thing that was trying to pull you in the right direction. But you're like, no, it's supposed to look like this. I'm supposed to have like this many people approach me and want to play together. It's like, well, maybe it's not supposed to be like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I think a younger version of myself would have been like, yeah, like I want this and this and this, and it has to be like this in these conditions. And like, I think the growth that I've seen since then is that it's like I've let go of any expectations of like how I want music and community for me to look. It's like, yeah, you're like, yeah, like I would absolutely, man. I would play in a restaurant by myself right now. I haven't done that. It's like I've asked around like here too, and it's just like all the places that I played last time, it's that maybe they're booked up or whatever. And it's like, if I was staying here longer, maybe those things would open up. But at the same time, it's just like I want way more chances at having an opportunity, right? Whatever
And
it looks like, I don't even care. You know, it's just like because momentum's a thing too
yeah,
for me, and it especially with music, man, because it's like if you get like one or two gigs, then it's like two or three people come up to you and they're like, "Hey, I'm throwing a party," or "Hey, you know, it's like, can you come play at my shop or whatever?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like
mm,
that lends to itself. Like it's one of my favorite things about music is like when if you get a little bit of momentum, dude, and like it just carries. You know what I mean? It just
totally.
carries through, right? Like it's just like you just got to kick the door down,
Yeah.
and so it's just like for me, yeah, it's just like I really want to just kick the door down, dude. You know, and so yeah, I've really I really let go though. I'm really proud of myself in that way, where it's just like all the expectations of my young 20s was like I have to be this by this or this by that. It's like no. Like
Yeah.
I'm just in love with the music, and and just want to do it. Just want to do it. You know, where it's like where I was geographically before and now, it was you know, I didn't necessarily set myself up for success.
Mm. Yeah, and recognizing that, that recognizing the attachment still to that maybe is showing up in a different way, right? And this is where the constant attention, the introspection, being a keen observer of life, which is mostly uh, looking from our perspective, is like, looking at ourselves, taking the guidance, and maybe the guidance in the moment is like, hey, you're in kind of a quiet remote spot for a little bit of time. Maybe that's the cue to really just like slow down. And sometimes it can be frustrating, right? The ego wants to be like, well, no, I've already been doing that, I've already been pausing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, well, just look at the sun, just look at it. We're never off the path, and things are always changing. So if it's a place that is feeling uninspired, then uh, that is feeling uninspired to you, then maybe that's a reason. There's a reason for that. Maybe it's an opportunity to go inward, like, and a great way to release some of the negativity, right? Because there's some negativity. There's like a frustration with the space and being uninspired. Just start with gratitude. So going like, okay, well, what is the benefit there? Like, you got lots of nature, warmer weather than where you were, probably a lot less Wi-Fi signals, a lot less electromagnetic frequencies going on, probably in like nice and quiet at night, aside from well, maybe not the dogs and the
Nope,
tuk-tuks.
not it. Nope, nope. I will
Yeah,
not.
never
I will say
never
it is
mind.
way louder at night. You know, I got
Yeah, yeah, I
roosters,
forgot about
dogs,
that part.
and bombas, brother. You know,
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, it's that
you
time of
know.
year.
So yeah, I also got some. I think a couple mice running around my roof. I don't know what's going on up there, but you know, about
Oh, yeah.
4:30 every morning, the
Yeah,
mice start running around, and I bang on the
yeah.
roof. So you know, pros and
Yeah,
cons, man. Pros
pros
and
and
cons
cons.
to every situation. It's
Um,
all good. It's all good. But
yeah,
yeah, sleep has definitely been not as
yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
as
Go
solid.
to get some earplugs at the pharmacy.
Yeah.
That's
No,
my
I got some. I got
recommendation.
some. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
been throwing them in. I've been throwing them
Yeah.
in.
Well, anyway, but whatever it is, and finding fi finding the silver lining, right? Because it's always there,
Yeah.
in
No,
whatever it is.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
because
No,
it's
just
it's
the
yeah,
gratitude and just like yeah, like me being here and like the opportunities that I have to be here, right? You know, and
yeah,
you know, in a lot of ways I'm like, yeah, like, you know, I'm just trying to focus on gratitude for like all the things that I do have in this moment in time.
cool.
And like you said, yeah, all those things, you know what I mean? Maybe it's like yeah, maybe it's like, yo, brother, like you're gonna have a crazy couple months, so you know, rest, you know,
Yeah,
but yeah, my ego's telling me you know, yeah, I've been resting, so it's like I don't
yeah,
want to, you know, who
yeah.
knows, right? But no, I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and I totally understand that. Sometimes it's tough to take some time off and to be like, when you've been going hard your whole life, like that's been my experience the last few years. It's like going hard
Yeah,
a lot of my life and then really slowing down for like
Yeah.
kind of an extended period, and it's been took a
Yeah.
while to relax into it and to like gracefully anyway, and like and see the beauty in it. But it's really, man, um it really comes through surrender. That is one thing I would offer from my experience. Surrendering fully into the moment, into whatever is happening, like being with what is, removing the judgment that is
Yeah.
blocking whatever is coming through the moment from being received. Because as I said before, there's never a moment when we're not connected, when we're not receiving, when we're not being guided, because, well, I mean, we can block the experience of the receiving through our mind, but you know what I mean? There's no time when we're ever not receiving guidance, because looking at it from the perspective of like your higher self, like sort of the way we've talked about this podcast, right? The inspiration behind it, at least part of it was wanting to offer advice to our younger selves that, you know, we didn't get. And I think about that sometimes where I'm like, man, if I could just like, and then I will go into the experience of actually talking to myself, you know, like kind of close my eyes, go inside and talk to my past self, which, you know, past and future don't really exist. So that if everything's happening now, we can really go inside and talk to those younger versions of ourselves, and that shit is real. So go and, you know, talk to 15-year-old me or 25-year-old me, and be like, man, you know, even though it was kind of rough right now, like it all works out and it gets so much better. And then seeing how that can affect the present, how the being in peace, being at peace in the present moment, reflecting on the past, it changes that storyline of the past. Because if that is now, if those, you know, challenging experiences were leading up to something positive, like my peaceful state in the here and now, then it changes those things from being negative. It changes that story arc. It's not just all negative. It's like it's negative that leads somewhere. It's negative that leads to positive, the experience of this, right? Again, these terms being relative. So when we're looking back and talking to ourselves, we can see like I'm kind of like my present self is sort of like the higher self for my past self. Talking to him, like letting him know it's all going to be okay, and then recognizing that just as real as that past self is my future self, which is, you know, some people would define. I like to look at it that way. My higher self is like the part that already knows, but yeah, recognizing like thinking of like the higher self as the aspect of our awareness which already knows the entire book. You know, we're living like page by page, chapter by chapter, but the, you know, that higher self already knows the outcome of the entire book, is in fact the author of it, and it's like can be speaking to you, being like, you know, you're at the choose your own adventure part of the novel, and it's like, you know, go this way, don't go that way, because like if you go that way, it's fine, you're gonna get to the end of the book too, but it's gonna be a little more painful. So like take this path. So um tuning in and
Yeah.
just hearing that advice, hearing that guidance, I should say, um however it's coming, and that is always through being as present and calm as possible. Because like at least in my experience, if I'm reflecting on the past, when I was making decisions that led me into experiences that were unpleasant, I was in a more fearful, negative, anxious space. And so I can reflect and be like, man, if I had only been more calm and chilled out back then, I would have probably not made that decision. You know,
Yeah.
so then I can apply that to now. Like, what would the advice that I'm giving my younger self, I'm sure it's probably the same that my future self would be giving to me now, which would be more or less just like relax and chill out and know that everything's fine. And then like, oh yeah, that's also the type of energy that is best for hearing that guidance, which is always coming. So then this can kind of build a different sort of motivation for something like meditation where it's not just like something that I have to do. What is meditation? It's sitting there and not thinking, okay, like sit there and try really hard not to think and like see how that goes. Right. It's we when we approach it with a different when we approach it with a different sort of mindset though, which is like this is just like meditation, just to use this example, meditation is just really about being there for oneself. It's just being there for as like a time to set aside for yourself to really just calm down and just be and just listen. And then there are methods for listening to whatever comes up and not attaching to it. But it's really like as far as, I generally look at it, and there are obviously uh, a lot of different approaches and schools of thought, but it's really just about being there for yourself and just getting quiet and listening. It's like tune everything out and just be 100% available for yourself because there are all those little parts in there, like the unsatisfied parts from the past, the traumatized parts from the past, whatever they are, like there are all these parts that are kind of like vying for attention and wanting to be heard. So it's like I'm just gonna shut everything out and just be here for myself. No expectation of what meditation's supposed to be looking like. No, no, no thought that I'm a good boy or a good girl if I get my meditation done. It's like it's not like a chore to be done. It's like it's literally an opportunity. It is a joyful opportunity to set aside some time for yourself to just breathe and get better at tuning in and dropping into yourself, which is dropping into the present moment, which is being calm, which is where that guidance comes from. And but not doing it with an attachment to getting guidance, doing it with just um doing it with a motivation and like an inspiration just to be present, just to listen to yourself. And that's like in my experience at least like a really beautiful way of shortening that window of suffering that we're going through because ultimately it all
Yeah.
ends and that's fine. It's we make choices that in that choose your own adventure book can make it longer or shorter and like I find that when we listen more when we get more tuned in and listen and drop those expectations, that's when that clarity does come through. And again, think about it, like, just to recap what I said there, the higher self, like, it's like present me is like the higher self for past me. Because I could be like, "Man, if only I knew all of the shit that was gonna happen, I would have made some different choices." It's kinda like knowing the future, right? Like, I know the future for my past self. My future self knows the future for me, and, like, again, how would I listen to that best? Well, in the past, I would have done better to be more chilled out and calm, so I'm gonna be more chilled out and calm now so that I can hear future me talking to me and telling me what's the path of least resistance, um 'cause that's how I choose to live my life now. I'm not choosing to live a chaotic and, dysregulated life. It's, which, that realization that's all a choice comes down to that as well. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, brother, that resonates, you know? And in some ways I have, now. I think I could, upon reflection, it's like the last week or so, it's like I could be doing a lot better. But also being open, you know what I mean? Like things have just come my way. People have just come into my life,
Yeah.
strangers that, those temporary friendships when you're traveling, just that have, already popped up around me. And those are beautiful, right? Just to be
Amen.
open to like, receiving whoever comes along and just the experiences that are coming along and then also like going and finding stuff as well. It's like I do think in some ways it's like I've struck a good balance, but it's like I could definitely be more chill. Like I feel like I'm not surrendering, like you said. I'm trying to like, maybe put a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is
And
okay. Which is, when
yeah,
if I
it
if I
is okay.
recognize it.
It's totally it's totally okay. There's no judgment there, and it's important. A practice that I always enjoy with myself is really being tuned in with my language. So, right, even saying like I could be doing better, or like yeah, like I didn't do that great at this. It's like that is just a little bit of energy that's going into hitting those parts that are judging, that those maybe those childhood parts that felt judged, and therefore reflected back in the everyday life, um, keeping them kind of anchored in that distance, that fear, because ultimately, if we're gentle and kind with ourselves and recognize that everything's perfect, no matter if we think we were making some big mistakes last week, we understand that they were leading us to where we are now, and it's that gentle, loving awareness that we hold within ourselves that allows those parts to come back in and talk to us more readily. So it's important to recognize that it's not about like doing better or worse and like beating ourselves up for anything in the past. It's just recognizing like it's all got us to where we are, and it's beautiful. And just being just instead of and I know this is tough. Like I still do this to myself all the time. Like, oh man, if only I had not been doing that. Um,
Yeah,
but
woulda, shoulda, coulda.
recognizing, yeah, exactly. Recognizing rather that it's just about the finding the gratitude in the present moment. Because again, and always meditating on the idea that it's again that like the title of the book that Ram Dass produced in the 70s, be here now, right? Like it always
Yeah,
comes down to that, because the present moment is the only thing that ever exists. You know, we're talking about the ideas of past and future, just in in that last example, for the sake of wrapping our minds around the idea of presence. So ultimately,
yeah.
and again, so we got a little bit of paradox here, and like you got to be able to paradox there, and you got to be able to grasp that, and sit with that and be comfortable with that, because paradox is not wrong. You know, paradox exists, therefore paradox is a part of creator's creation. So getting used to it, getting used to dichotomy, getting familiar and
No,
comfortable with
totally.
it. Um,
A quote
yeah,
that comes to
always.
mind from a favorite. Oh, sorry.
Oh, wait, no, I was just saying always being present. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, yeah, man. So a friend of mine sent me a quote. He was walking through a cemetery, and it was like the epitaph on a headstone. And
Mm,
I loved it. The quote was, "Life's a fight, but it's also a gift." Right? It's like, the duality,
mm,
the paradox. Right? It's like, yeah, it's a fight, but it's also a gift. You know what I mean? It's a gift to exist, and that. And again, just to go back to the gratitude, that quote always stuck with me because it just, yeah, it resonated hard. I was like, yeah, it's
yeah.
it's exactly what it is.
Exactly, and it's like understanding that we've chosen that because we've come into this experience of duality, when all is one, yet we're having the illusory experience of duality, that there is more than one. And that necessitates forgetting that we are one in order to have the experience of rediscovering it, of remembering it, of bringing that
Yeah,
back into our awareness. And we require the all of it. We require, the hot and the cold, the left and the right, the up and the down, the good and the bad. Like that's the whole point. So we understand that um suffering is a part of the journey, right? And that's why
true.
the Four Noble Truths speak about that, because we we wouldn't be having the enjoyable experience of in your example, being in community and expressing yourself musically. It wouldn't be as sweet if you didn't have these periods of frustration and
Right.
feeling
No,
separated from
you're
your purpose.
100%. So it's like when I
Yeah,
go get that finally, man, am I just going to be full of such gratitude
yeah,
because of the
and
absence, you know?
yeah, and think about, and so here's a good way to meditate on presence, perhaps. Think about how, like, put yourself in that vibration. Think about playing a show in like a spot that you love with like a great band, and feel what that's like when, after you've been going through a period of frustration. Feel like, consider how present you will be in that moment, because it's just like, holy fucking shit, it's happening. Like, wow, you'll be like, you'll be able to taste the air as well as like smell it. You'll be able to like see and you'll be able to hear the colors. When we're so
Yeah.
connected like that,
Yeah.
when we drop so deep into presence that um egoic mind, that default mode network, it drops away, and like the brain calms down and we actually see more. It's like it's wild, right? Like it's like a
Yeah, man.
psychedelic experience. So, and then that's another way. It's like just get into that feeling, like get there in your mind through meditation, removing the obstacles to imagining that, feel that feeling in your body, and then allow that feeling to be the guide that
Mm,
directs you through your day. Being in that vibration and then making choices from there, and then all of a sudden you'll be seeing how you're attracting those things, manifesting, as is the popular term, those experiences into your reality. Because again, that's the action. That's like
yeah,
that's one of the paths of action. That's a way to get into that space. Doing versus being. Like the do have be paradigm versus be have do. Like be the way that you want to, or be do have. Be the way that you wish to be when you get those things, in order to do the things and then have the things that you're seeking. Again, the Buddha, there's no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. So it's not like I'm going to be happy when I'm getting these gigs. How about I'll be happy so I get those gigs, and not, or
yeah,
not, so that's an attachment too, but you know what I mean? Like being happy, like it's not a path to happiness. There's no things that are going to make you happy in this external world, because the whole game here is recognizing that this is an illusion and that we are all of it and always have been. Again, that which you're seeking, the way that people often speak about that Rumi quote, that which you're seeking is seeking you. I heard this where it was explained, like a better translation. It's like that which you're seeking, you are. It's like it's not just seeking you. You already are it. So finding that
yeah,
happiness, yeah, finding that happiness, because it's there. The idea that it's outside of you and that it's something to seek creates the experience of seeking it, because that's the belief that's going to manifest in your experience. If you think it's outside of you, then it's like, thy will be done.
yeah, yeah, man. Just thinking about that feeling of gratitude that I'll have when it finally happens, and then like, but I can feel it now too. Like that. Yeah, that was a
Yeah, man.
powerful thought exercise. I feel it still. It's just like, yeah, it's just feels good. Puts a smile on my face. You know.
Cool, man.
Yeah, brother. I think that's probably a good place to cap this episode, on perspective and gratitude and the highs and lows of life. Any closing thoughts, Adam, for the folks out there?
Yeah, just like you said there, the highs and lows of life, we are so accustomed to pushing away the lows and chasing the highs, but really we come to understand through wisdom, through lived embodied experience, that it's embracing the lows that actually brings us closer to the highs. And it's really not about chasing that high again, but it's about coming into the middle. And while that may sound boring to the ego, because it certainly did to me at first, I recognized also very early on that while we're coming into the middle, that middle is rising. That baseline steadily increases. It's not a dramatic peak and valley peak, like the dopamine system of the normal egoic mind is seeking, because that peak is always going to be followed by a valley. If we're, again, it's like the unalome, the Buddhist symbol, where it's like the path, it comes tighter into the middle,
Mm,
common tattoo. Um, it's like just a symbol for the path, so the more we come into the middle, the less we seek those extremes, which then the more peace we find. And so it's embracing the lows and also not embracing the highs too much, because as we said at the start of this episode, it's all attachment. And that's how we can see that attachment to negative and as well as positive ultimately creates suffering, because it brings with it that that equal and opposite reaction, right? It's like the rubber
yeah.
band snapping back and forth. So uh, finding, yeah, deep acceptance, radical acceptance for what is, radical acceptance for the present moment, even if it's not satisfying to the ego, is, boy, it's always the quickest way through. Is right,
Yeah, man.
right through it.
No, this
Lean
was
into it.
a yeah, healthy dose, healthy reminder. I needed it,
Yeah.
you know. And
Yeah, man,
if
lean
anybody
into that
listening,
shit.
I got to,
So
I
yeah.
got to. But if anybody listening got something out of this episode and you like what you heard, please support us in all the ways that are free. You know, subscribe, comment, engage, like this. We want to hear your thoughts. And you know, or if you want us to talk about something else, you know, we're here for it. And so Adam, thank you so much for joining me. And yeah, we'll catch you next time, folks.
All right, thanks, Steven. Get those earplugs in and get a good sleep.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll try. I'll
All
try, man. All right, we'll catch you
right,
next
man.
time, y'all.